It was the first week of 6th grade at Roosevelt Middle School, and the class was alive with nervous energy. Mrs. Delaney, a warm but no-nonsense teacher, stood at the front of the room, trying to get the kids to know each other better. "All right, class," she smiled, "let's play a quick game. Stand up and tell us your name, and what your mom or dad does for work." Groans echoed through the room, typical icebreaker stuff. But one by one, hands shot up. "I'm Brianna, my mom's a nurse." "I'm Tyler. My dad's a lawyer." "I'm Sophia, my mom owns a bakery." Each response was met with polite nods or the occasional cool. But no one stood out. Until it was Malik's turn. Malik sat in the back corner, skinny, quiet, always doodling rockets or stars in the margins of his notebook. He rarely spoke unless spoken to. But today, he stood, small hands clasped tightly in front of him. "I'm Malik," he said quietly, eyes on the floor. "And, my dad works at NASA." The words hung in the air. There was a beat of silence. One heartbeat. Two. Then, snickering. A loud, exaggerated laugh burst from a boy near the front, Trevor, the class clown, always itching for attention. "NASA? Pfft. What, is your dad an alien?" More laughter erupted. "Yeah right," someone else jeered, "your dad's probably just a janitor." Mrs. Delaney raised a hand, trying to calm them. All right, that's enough." But the damage was done. Malik's shoulders shrank. He didn't argue. He didn't say another word. He just sat down slowly, cheeks flushed, and stared at the desk like it might swallow him whole. To them, it sounded ridiculous. A kid like Malik, who wore hand-me-down clothes, who never had the newest shoes, who sometimes came in late or missed school events, claiming his dad worked at NASA. It didn't fit their picture of astronauts and engineers. But Malik wasn't lying. At recess, the whispers continued. "Bet he Googled NASA just to sound smart. People like him don't work there. It's not even in our state. He's making it up." Malik sat alone on a bench, clutching his lunchbox, pretending not to hear. He thought of his dad, Marcus, who came home late smelling like floor wax and jet fuel. Who told him stories about machines that could land on Mars. Who showed him videos of rockets and whispered, "You can go higher, son." Just like this. But now, even Malik felt unsure. Maybe his dad didn't really work at NASA, maybe he was just around it. A helper. A nobody. He picked at the edge of a sandwich, suddenly too embarrassed to eat. His heart felt heavy, not because the kids laughed, but because for the first time in his life, he wondered if they were right. Malik stared out the window of the school bus, watching the golden late-afternoon sunlight dance across the pavement. His backpack sat untouched beside him, unzipped and half-open. Normally, he'd be sketching rockets or drawing his favorite space missions. But not today. Today, all he could hear were the echoes of laughter. "NASA? What, is your dad an alien?" "Yeah right, he's probably just a janitor." The words stung. More than he expected. When he walked through the front door of their small apartment, the smell of lemon-scented cleaner and fried chicken greeted him. His dad, Marcus, was already home, still in his navy blue coveralls, his name stitched in white over his heart. He was at the stove, humming softly to some old R&B song playing on the radio. "Hey, champ," Marcus said cheerfully, flipping chicken in the pan. "How was school?" Malik shrugged, dropping his backpack by the couch. "It was fine." Marcus turned, noticing the slump in his son's shoulders. He lowered the stove's flame. "You sure? You look like someone stole your lunch." Malik hesitated. Then, finally, he sat at the small kitchen table, eyes locked on a water stain in the wood. "Dad, do you really work at NASA?" Marcus blinked. He didn't get angry. He didn't look hurt. But he sat down across from Malik, wiping his hands on a towel. "Why you asking me that?" Malik struggled for the words. "Just, kids at school." They laughed. Said I was making it up. Said people like us don't work at NASA. Marcus let out a slow breath and leaned back in his chair. Well, that's not the first time I've heard something like that. Malik looked up, surprised. Let me ask you something, Malik, Marcus said, folding his hands. When you turn on a light, do you think about the wires in the wall? The people who built the lines, laid the cables, kept everything running so that switch does what it's supposed to do? Malik shook his head. Exactly. Most folks don't. But someone's got to do it, or nothing works. Marcus leaned forward. Same goes for NASA. The rockets don't launch themselves. The scientists don't walk into sparkling clean labs by magic. Every mission, every success, depends on a whole team behind the scenes. And yeah, your dad's one of them. But, you clean floors. I clean NASA's floors, Marcus said, smiling. I scrub the labs where spaceflight is born. I shine the halls astronauts walk down before they ride a rocket into the stars. You think I don't belong there? He reached across and gently tapped Malik's chest. You think you don't? Malik looked down, ashamed. No, I didn't know what to say when they laughed. That's all right, Marcus said, rising. Sometimes you don't say anything. Sometimes, you let your actions speak for you. That night, as Marcus cleaned up after dinner, he made a quiet phone call. To an old friend. At work. With an idea. The next morning, Roosevelt Middle School buzzed with its usual pre-class chaos, squeaky sneakers, half-eaten breakfast bars, and the hum of hallway gossip. Malik walked slowly through the entrance, gripping the straps of his backpack tightly. His eyes stayed low, scanning the floor tiles, avoiding the stares and whispers that followed him. There was no good morning from Trevor today. Just a smug look as Malik passed, followed by a not-so-subtle chuckle shared with his buddies. When the bell rang, Mrs. Delaney stood in front of the class with a strange smile. She looked excited. Class, she said, her tone different, almost formal. Before we begin today's lesson, we have a special visitor. The door creaked open. Gasps rippled through the room. Stepping into the classroom was a tall man in a crisp blue NASA flight suit, complete with the American flag on his shoulder and a silver badge gleaming on his chest. His presence filled the room like gravity. He looked strong, confident. Exactly like the astronauts from TV. Behind him, almost hidden in the doorway, was Marcus. Still wearing his navy blue work uniform. Still humble. But standing tall. Malik froze. The NASA man introduced himself, his voice calm and commanding. Good morning. I'm Commander Anthony Lee, astronaut with NASA's Johnson Space Center. Mouths dropped. The room was silent. I'm here today, he continued, to talk to you about something very important. Teamwork. You see, people think NASA is just scientists and astronauts. But that's not the full story. He turned slightly and gestured to Marcus. This man right here? Marcus is one of the most critical members of our facility. Without him, our clean labs wouldn't pass inspection. Our astronauts couldn't train safely. Our missions wouldn't launch. I've walked into rooms he's prepared before launching test flights. I've trusted my life to the conditions he maintains. Students blinked. Even Trevor looked stunned. He shows up before dawn, works harder than anyone I know, and carries his job with pride and excellence. And guess what? His son is in this very room. All eyes turned toward Malik. His heart pounded in his chest. Commander Lee smiled. Malik, your father is a part of NASA's backbone. You weren't lying. You were telling a truth bigger than most people could see. Marcus gave his son a gentle nod. A shift occurred in the room. A quiet, collective realization. The kind of moment that etches itself into memory. Then, slowly, Mrs. Delaney led the applause. Soft at first, then building. Malik's eyes welled up. Not from embarrassment, but from pride. For the first time, he didn't feel like the quiet kid in the corner. He felt seen. And not just him, his dad, too. That day, a room full of kids learned something no textbook could teach them. Dignity doesn't wear a title. Greatness isn't always loud. And heroes walk among us, in blue coveralls, not just spacesuits. The bell rang for recess, but the usual chaos was gone. Instead of bolting for the door, the class lingered in a quiet buzz, still reeling from what they had just witnessed. Malik sat at his desk, unsure of what to do next. For the first time since he'd joined the school, no one was laughing. No one was whispering behind their hands. Instead, he saw glances, curious, thoughtful, even a little ashamed, from kids who had once mocked him. As he stepped into the hallway, he felt a tap on his shoulder. It was Trevor. Malik turned slowly, expecting a joke, or worse. But Trevor wasn't smiling. He looked nervous. "Hey, man," Trevor said, scratching the back of his neck. "Listen. I wanted to say I'm sorry." Malik blinked. "For what?" "For not believing you. For being a jerk. What your dad does, it's actually kinda amazing." He shrugged awkwardly. "I didn't know janitors could, be part of NASA." Malik gave a small, shy smile. "Most people don't. But they are." Trevor held out his hand. "Friends?" Malik hesitated, then shook it. That handshake echoed louder than any insult from the day before. A few other classmates passed by and nodded at him. "Your dad's awesome," one girl said. "Tell him thanks from us," said another. Malik couldn't stop smiling. Not because he wanted attention, but because he felt something new blooming in his chest. Pride. Later that day, Mrs. Delaney asked the students to write a journal entry about what they had learned. Malik wrote, "I learned that not all heroes wear spacesuits. Some sweep the floor under them. My dad is proof that being great doesn't mean being famous. It means doing your job with heart. And believing in your family even when no one else does." That night, at home, Malik placed his notebook on the kitchen table and waited for his dad to come home. When Marcus walked in, tired but smiling, Malik ran up and hugged him tight. "What's this for?" Marcus chuckled, ruffling his son's hair. "I just wanted to say, I'm proud of you." Marcus blinked, caught off guard. "Well, I'm proud of you too." Malik grinned and handed him the notebook. Marcus read it slowly, then sat down in silence, overcome with emotion. His fingers trembled slightly as he closed the book. "You're gonna go far, son," he whispered. "Much farther than me." Malik shook his head. "I'll go where you started." They sat at the table, the hum of the city just outside the window, but inside, it was quiet. Safe. Full of unspoken love. Dizzy final narration, optional closing line. Some people reach for the stars. Others clean the path so the stars can shine. And sometimes, the greatest legacy we leave is the pride we plant in the hearts of those who follow us.